All right, we're gonna go ahead and change the oil on a PrepMaster. We're gonna be changing the oil inside of the gearbox. The model we're doing here is a 2807, but all of the PrepMaster models will be the same. So what we did here is I removed the tool plate off this side of the machine, just so we can go ahead and get to the drain port that is right there. Now, the one thing, what I like to do is, when draining it, is I like to go ahead and take like a piece of steel, just to kind of guide the oil from when it comes out of where it's going to be going. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take a rag, and I like to put it inside the dust port holes, just so you don't get the oil back inside there with your old dust and everything else from grinding. And just since it's there, I'll go ahead and put a rag inside the hole where the water hose goes to, just so it don't leak out the back of the gearbox. All right. Go ahead and set our pan in place. Get this set up like that. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is go ahead and take the plug out. The plug comes out with a 9/16 Allen wrench. I like to use an impact to go ahead and get it started because it's pretty tight. Now that it's loose, I like to do the rest by hand just because it could make a mess. Now what we'll do is just go ahead and let the oil drain out of there completely. All right, now that all the oil is drained out of the machine, what we're gonna do is go ahead and take the plate out of here. Just kind of set it off to the side. I'll keep this here because I'll kind of wipe just some of the excess oil that drained off there. But now what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and take our drain plug, just kind of dry it off, make sure the threads are pretty clean, and then I like to go ahead and put a little bit of silicone back on there. We use Permatex Ultra Gray for most things because it's a good silicone for oil. It's oil resistant. So I just put a little bit on the threads and then just kind of go around it with my finger real quick, just so you don't have a ton of excess silicone coming out when you're done. And then we go ahead and put it up there. I'll just kind of wipe the threads in the hole real good. Just make sure a lot of oil's not right there inside there. And then we'll go ahead and put the plug back in. Nice and tight. I'll grab a rag just because I still have a little bit of oil here. All right, now that we got all that done, we'll go ahead and I'm gonna move the oil out of the way, and then we're gonna go ahead and put this tool plate back up here because at that point we're gonna be done underneath the machine. All right, now we got our tool plate. We'll go ahead and put that up. We'll change over the impact back to the 3/4 socket. Whenever you're putting the tool plate on, I like to go ahead and get the bolts started by hand first and get them threaded in there. You never really want to start it with the impact just in case you don't want to cross thread the bolt. Go ahead and spin it with the socket. We'll go ahead and tighten them up. All right, now we're done with the underside, so we're gonna go ahead and tip the machine up and then we'll start filling it with oil. So we're gonna go ahead and fill the oil right here at this plug here. It takes a 5/8 Allen wrench to get this plug out, so we'll go ahead and get this part opened up. From here you can see in there, and you can actually see some of the gearbox in the gear there. It's empty with oil, so we're going to go ahead and fill this up, and our oil level is going to be right to the edge of that gear, which will be 1 3/4 inches in depth. So we'll go ahead and fill that now. Now for this, we're going to go ahead and use Mobil Gear Oil 600 XP 150. It's important with the oil that you get a gear oil with the ISO of 150. So this is the oil we recommend to use. And then we're gonna go ahead and fill it, and at a couple times we'll go ahead and stop and check the oil depth, because we wanna make sure we get it right at 1 3/4 inches. And it is gonna take quite a bit of oil. It's gonna be close to 2 gallons. We'll go ahead and stop right here and kind of check to see where we're at. Just by a quick look, it looks like we still have a little ways to go, but we'll go ahead and measure that just so we can see what we're at. Now, you can use just really any rod or any stick. You kind of want it to be slender just so it can slide right next to that gear, because you don't want to measure on top of the gear. You want to make sure you're touching the bottom of the gearbox. And I went ahead and just made a Sharpie mark right there, right at 1 3/4 inches. Let's see about right where we're at. Yeah, we're only about a quarter way up that stick, so we still got a ways to go. All right, we'll go ahead and grab our rod and we'll check one more time, see where we're at. Because it's kind of important. It's easier to go under and always have to keep adding oil than to overfill it and have to drain some out. All right there it looks like, you know what, we're going to top off just a little bit, but we're going to be real careful not to put in too much. Because there's a fine line. You don't want to be too far under the operating range. You don't want to be over. The 1 3/4 inches, kind of that magic spot. If you go over 1 3/4 inches, you could damage the seals of the gearbox, because the pressure that could build up in the gearbox could push the oil through the seals. And then if you don't have enough oil in the gearbox, what it could do is cause more bearing damage, because the upper bearings may not be getting lubricated enough. Right there you can see we are right at our line of 1 3/4 inches. All right, now the same thing. Now that we have the gearbox filled up and we got the 1 3/4 inches, I'm just gonna go ahead and wipe around here real quick. Make sure we got the area nice and clean. And then the same thing, we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of the Permatex Ultra Gray on this plug as well. All right, I'll just kind of wipe up around, and that's the oil change for a Prepmaster. Now, one thing we recommend is that you check that oil about every 100 hours, just to get a good check. Stick a rod down in there, make sure it is 1 3/4 inches, and then depending on how much the machine is used, if it's not used too much, I would recommend changing the oil at least once a year, using it quite a bit, at least every 6 months.